This episode sponsored by Lake Monster Details, producing the Don's Light and Magic Legacy line of parts, offering upgrade parts and decals for accuracy, special effects, and lighting. Visit www.lakemonsterdetails.com and make it glow. Also sponsored by GCals, producing aftermarket replacement decals and custom quality graphics for your favorite spaceships. Visit www.gcals.company.site and add some personalization to your sci-fi models today. Modeling from the Ensign's Chair is proud to partner with Models for Troops, a 501c3 charity that provides model kits, model supplies, and scale model literature to aid disabled and injured veterans suffering from PTSD, traumatic brain injury, and other post-combat related issues. Please visit www.modelsfortroops.com for more information and to find out ways you can contribute, because a model is more than just plastic.
Hey, what's up, fellow modelers? Will here, welcome to Modeling from the Ensign's Chair. This is episode 11 of the 1/1400 scale Enterprise C build. This episode, we are finally going to get everything assembled. Matter of fact, turn this light off. We'll take a look here real quick. But here's the model where we're going to be assembled at the end of this episode. And she's looking really good. We've got all of our lights. Our 3 navs I put in there are lighting up. We got our 2 red lights at the beginning there, and a red light that I added at the back here over top of the shuttle bay. And little profile pic. You can see that lower sensor dome's lit up. The navigation deflector is all lit up, and right now it's overexposing those warp grills where the LED strip is at. It doesn't show up like that when you look at it in person, but camera's always overexposed, and that's all right. But at any rate, that's where we're at. That's how things are looking. Everything's looking pretty good. I do have a couple light leak issues I got to deal with. We'll talk about those. And other than that, a couple little touch-ups. I've still got to do some work on this back part here. I've got to put that lens in place for the impulse engine there, so you can see the light coming through there. Oddly, I've got a big gap right here. I'm not sure why, because it's sitting flush on the neck. So I'm going to have to look at the instructions and make sure I didn't miss something, but I don't think I did, but there's a pretty big gap right here. But at any rate, that's where we're at, looking really good. And we're going to talk about a couple things, and then we'll come back, like I said, one more episode, and we should be able to wrap this up after I do some touch-up painting, do the decals, and some light blocking, taking care of those light leaks. So other than that, guys, we'll talk about this. We'll get the wiring done on this, and I'll show you how I got to this point. So give me a minute. I'll put you on the bench. We'll get to work. All right, everybody. So here we go. This is all the sub-assemblies completed. So we've got the secondary hull, the saucer, and the pylon wing here with the nacelles attached. And then we've also got our deflector dish ready to go. So this is all ready to go, ready to assemble. Just a couple of things I want to talk about, though, before we start putting this together. Now, this part here, the pylon wing with the nacelles, really ain't a whole lot to say about that. It's pretty much as it was when I put it together. I do have to do a little touch-up repainting here because I think I somehow mixed up when I airbrushed my yellow here. I got a little yellow mixed in, it looks like, and I can see just a shade of yellow. So that's fine, because after I get this connected to the secondary hull, I expect that I'm probably going to have to do a little bit of repainting here anyway. So we'll mask this off, and we'll repaint. And it looks like I got a little bit of yellow here too I might have to touch up. So a little bit of touch-up work on that, but other than that, that's in pretty good shape and ready to go. Nothing I can't do after it's assembled. So, but let's talk about the saucer here for a second. So I've got to do the decals on this yet. All the lighting is done on it. I did have to touch up a spot here, which you can tell is a little bit lighter, but that's because I haven't put a coat of my matte finish on this yet. So hopefully it'll help blend that in a little bit more after I get that on. But the problem I had here was I actually somehow damaged both the SMDs on this side and had to basically pull the wire out, drill out the SMD that was in there, a little bit of fuzz there, and then I had to fish the wires down to put in new SMDs here. So wasn't too hard to do. I think what I'm going to do in the future, though, when I build a saucer, the saucer section on these models is I think typically on like your refit net, the upper dome you can remove and be able to get to some wiring that way if you need to. On the TOS, the whole BC deck, if you want, you could leave loose. That way you could pull it out and be able to get to the wiring in there. On this one, this bottom part here, it's easy to pop this lower sensor dome off and work with the wire. So I think what I'm going to do in future builds is maybe leave 2 bare leads. Of course, I'll cap them off. I'll just cut them off so their wire's not exposed. But I think I'm going to leave some leads in the center here because it seems to be the easiest spot to fish the wires down to because it's such a big open area here. Had a little bit of difficulty fishing the wires and getting them to come down here because there's a little bit of a lip on the inside here. So it would have been easier. I ended up popping this off and fishing those through and then being able to fish them over to here. But I think it'd be easier just to have some dead ends here that are wired in, and that way if I run into an issue like that, I can pop this off and I've just got to fish the wire down into here, and then I'll have 2 leads here that I just got to pull out, strip the wiring, and I can run the connections that way instead of having to, because obviously once I get this together, I'm not going to be able to fish wiring into here because it's going to be attached to the secondary hole. So just the thought I had working on that, maybe leave myself an out in the future if I have any issues like that. So, but anyway, I got those new SMDs wired in. I got them, you know, the new resistors put on it and rewired. So it's all ready to go. Lower sensor dome is attached. I just got to do the decals on this, and she's pretty much ready to go. I've got to do a little more, maybe another coat on these lifeboats. Still see a little bit of blue coming through on a couple of them. But other than that, she's ready to go, all wired up, and we'll get to work on that here shortly. Let's talk about the secondary hull for a minute here. So I've been working with the paint masks from Aztec Dummy, and there's a couple of changes. I mean, they're great masks. They've come in really handy, and I'll definitely use them again when I go to do my Yamaguchi build. But a couple of little changes though. So this back, I guess you would kind of call this the strong back in a way, even though the pylons aren't attached directly to it. But this back section here, it basically calls for you to paint this whole section here the dark blue, and then there's a mask that covers this whole section. But when I looked at the studio model, basically this first raised area is the dark blue, and then you've got the light blue tracing the outside on this second raised area right here. So that's what I did. I painted this dark blue, and then came back, masked that off, came back, painted this with the light blue, and that's how it is. Now, as far as this section up here, it's really unclear in the images I've found of the Enterprise C model exactly how far up this blue goes. It doesn't look like it goes beyond where I stopped at. That's why I stopped where it did. Even though there's a raised piece here, it doesn't look like it goes up there. It could have, but I just can't tell in the pictures. I will say that this is another part that kind of needs to be accurized. It's compared to the studio model, this is really oversized, the impulse engine here. There should be a lot more gap on either side of it, and it's just really oversized. There's a little detail that's supposed to go on each side of this that I can't do because there's no room there for it. So other than that, I think I've got to look again. Now I know on the Yamaguchi and the Zukov, all the models after this was redone, I believe this is more of a grayish color, the impulse housing here. But it's hard to tell. The only picture, let me show you again. I like showing these pictures because you know, if anybody is in doubt or wants to dispute it, and you know, all I can do is go by what I've got here in photos. And the only photo I've got that I've been able to find that really shows this is this image right here. And this is of the Enterprise C. Now I can find, now it looks like the impulse engine or housing might be dark blue. But I just can't really tell from that picture if you look at that section there. Now I'll show you in comparison to this picture of the impulse deck after the modifications were made. It's definitely a smaller, and it's gray. It looks like it's painted gray, and it's got some light blue detail coming up there, but I cannot tell if that light blue detail was the same on the Enterprise C. I don't think it is, because the impulse engine or impulse housing does look like it's bigger than this than it is after the modifications were made. It looks like the impulse deck or housing here was made smaller than what this other image looks like. And again, this other image, it's just really hard to tell. It's not a very high resolution image, and the lighting under the saucer, back edge of the saucer, it's just so dark there, it's hard to tell. But at any rate, I'm not going to worry about it right now. I think, let me get this image out of my way. I think I'm going to let it go like it is for now, and I can always come back and change that. I haven't put the lens on there yet for it. I did do a test to put the lens on it, and there's plenty of light coming from inside here to light that. So I'm not worried about putting a separate LED in here for that. But at any rate, the other issue with this is if you let's look back at this image again. If you look back at this image, well, not that one. Let me pull up a different one for you. There's an image on here that kind of looks down the spine, and you'll notice that let me find it here. You'll notice when you look at it that these windows in the back here, these should be up more, facing out more, instead of these are pretty much like skylights here, in any rooms that would be here. So they kind of sit down too far and they're too flat. So these need to come up more. But the thing is, when you look at the image, if I can find it, some of these are really small on my laptop until I open them up, so it's hard to tell. But if you look at the image of it, I think it's this one here, and you can tell that those windows aren't even on both sides. Even on the studio model, they're kind of out of whack. One side looks like these sit up higher, and the other ones look like they sit down lower on the left side there. So again, just a testament to how rushed they were in building this model. So ain't really much I can do about that with this part. But again, I'm going to talk Cass over at Lake Monster Detail, see if maybe we can come up with something more accurate than this, because this part just comes out anyway. It's a separate piece, and it wouldn't be difficult to make this piece and make it more accurate, especially for the Zukov. Now, this may be a little bit closer to what the Enterprise C is. Let me just take a look at that image one more time. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell in the picture. It's just, this looks too big to me for both the Enterprise C and the Yamaguchi or Zukov, whichever ones you decide to build this as. This is just too big. It should be smaller. So anyway, just something to point out there. I did put the photo etch. Sorry, let me bring up my camera again. I did put the photo etch where the docking port is. You can't really tell because it's so small. So, really up to you whether you want to bother with that or not. It really wasn't worth it. I mean, it does give a little more depth to that area because as it was molded, there wasn't much depth to it. So, I'm still glad I did it. And on the bottom here, you see I had to rework this. I had to repaint it. So, I've got to put my lifeboats back on here yet. I had to pull them off. And had to repaint this again. I haven't put the clear coat on this part yet, so it's a little bit, you can notice a difference in the color here, and once I put the clear coat on, hopefully that'll blend in more. We'll see, but not too worried about it. So at any rate, this back section, I could not find any good pictures of this tail fan set. This back section on the underside of the secondary hull. There's no good pictures of it. The closest I could come to, apologize again, look at another picture. The closest I could come to it was this picture. If I can get my pointer on it. This picture here. And it's kind of a side view, and you just barely see a little bit of the underside, and it's not, again, it's not a very high resolution picture. So again, it's kind of hard to tell what's been done on the underside of that. So sorry, I'm still trying to pull this up. Here we go. So you see this picture here, and you see the back end. Really the only thing I could tell this picture, because there's battle damage and all that on the underside, is that this is painted dark blue, and that's really all I can tell from it, this back raised area right here. It looks like there's a couple things here, 4 or 5, I don't know what they are, if they're lifeboats or just painted panels. But I just did the best I could with it. I don't really like the way this turned out, I'm going to say. I'm probably going to redo it. I've got an idea of what I want to do with it. I just think this is too blocky, and I don't like it. So I want to do something here, but I'm just not liking the way this turned out the more I look at it. The more I look at it, this kind of looks like, let me see if I can focus this. This kind of looks like a totem face off a, you know, a face that you would see on a totem pole. Yep, too much. There we go. If you can see that. See what I mean? It looks like a totem face. So, you know, it looks like the mouth, the eyes, the nose, and the hair. So I think I'm going to come back and I'm going to redo this. But again, that's something I can do after this model is put together. Fix my focus again. So I'm not too worried about fixing it right now. Just kind of want to get this together and then finalize some things. So the only other things I want to point out real quick are, you'll notice on the bottom here, I did add, this is going to be a strobe, a flashing strobe on the belly, because like I said, most of your other models or Enterprises did have a flashing strobe on the belly, except for maybe the original series. So I added one on the bottom here because I thought it could use one, even though it's not on the studio model that I can tell. And again, on that back section, if I show you that picture again real quick, you'll notice there, it looks like there might be a light on the underside there. You can just see like a little bulge there, but it doesn't. I looked at the screen caps for the yesterday's Enterprise, and you don't see that lit. And when I watch the episode and you see that area, you never see that flash or blink or anything. So it is possible that there was originally a light there, but as part of the battle damage, they disabled it and it never lit. But I can't tell for sure. So I'm not worried about adding one on the back here. But, you know, take it for what, you know, it is whatever you make of it. So if you decide you want to put a light back there, then who's to argue that you're not right? Because there could have been a light there, and like I said, because as part of the battle damage, maybe they just disabled it and it didn't work. So the only other light I did add was, you do see a red steady on light right here above the shuttle bay. So I did add that on here. So that'll be a steady on, and I'll get all that wired in once I get this together. So other than that, the touch-up painting on it is pretty much done. There is a little more touch-up I got to do to it after I get these other lifeboats on. And then obviously once this whole thing is put together, there'll be some more touch-up to that. So I think the first thing I'm going to do as far as getting these sub-assemblies together, let me move the saucer. The saucer is probably going to be the last thing I put on. Well, other than the deflector dish. The deflector dish will be the absolute last thing I put on, because I'm going to be doing all the wiring and tucking that inside, and then this will... I'm hoping I can just put this on and not have to glue it in place, so that way if there's any issues I can just pop off the front and get inside to it. But we'll take a look at that and see. So basically, to put this together, what the first thing I want to do is get this wing section on. And the way I've got this, or I figured to do this, was just to run the wires through the back here. And if I've got to get out my tweezers, I'll do that. But I'm not going to sit here and play with this on video the whole time. I'm going to get this together, and then we will come back and see how she turned out. But basically the plan is just to fish these wires into here, and then I should be able to slide this into place. Let me grab my tweezers real quick. I can fish these wires through here, get them out of the way. There we go. Make sure I got them all. All right. I've got some wires right here I still got to get a hold of. Got something this is catching on. I got to figure out what it is. So I'll tell you what, give me a minute. I'll work on getting this together. I've got something that this is catching on in there, and I just want to make sure I'm not getting ready to rip a wire out. So give me a couple minutes. I'll get this attached, and we'll come back and take a look at it and talk about the wiring. All right, so I've got this pylon wing with the nacelles attached, and she's all good to go. I've glued it on. And I did a quick check just using the battery so it doesn't put out as much light. But I did a quick light leak check around this area. Remember, I put that lip of tulip around here just to hopefully help it light block some. It did rubberize. So just a quick check. It did look like it did pretty good. There is a little bit of light in a couple spots I could see. So once I get the main power hooked in and really take a look at it, and then I'll be able to tell for sure exactly how much work I'm going to have to do on light leaks on it. But it turned out pretty good. It's I got to look into decide whether or not I'm going to need to fill this seam in or not right here. I'm not sure. But otherwise, the seam along here actually turned out pretty nice. It's not too noticeable. So I may not have to do a whole lot of work there, but I do need to check for light leaks and see what I need to do to it to take care of that. So at any rate, that part is together. And the only thing that leaves now is to do the saucer section. So I've got all my wires fished out here already for both sections here. And what I'm going to do is I've only got 3 leads that I've got to run down. I've got the 1 power lead, the 1 negative for the steady on lights, and the 1 negative for the strobe. So all I got to do is fish those down through the neck here and bring them out through the dish in the front, and we'll be good to go there. Now I do need to, before I put this on, I noticed I did some test fitting. I noticed that this part here is a little snug. So what I'm going to do is take some sandpaper and sand this down a little bit until it fits in there nice and smooth and it's not sticking, to make sure that that saucer does sit down on here nice and tight. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to sand this. I think a lot of that has to do with the paint. There's a little bit of paint buildup on here. So I'm going to sand that paint off of here. I don't really need to worry about light blocking this. It's going to be up inside the saucer. So I'm going to sand this down, and like I said, I'm going to take these 3 leads and fish them down through here and bring them out through the saucer in the front, and then I'll get that saucer glued in place. And when we come back, we should hopefully have this all together, and we'll take a look at getting all the wires connected. So give me a minute and we'll be back. All right, guys, so I'm an idiot. I made a little bit of a boo-boo here. I didn't think about or take into account the fact that this notch on here has to go into this hole, and I had the wires running out of it. So I had to go out and Dremel out, use my cutter to Dremel out a notch further back on the saucer here so my wires could actually run down into the secondary hole, because otherwise they weren't going to fit along with this this notch here. So anyway, I Dremeled it out, got it worked out, and let's see. Well, since I got you here, fish these wires out the front already. Let's see if this will slide up in here. Oh, that went on pretty easy. I did a pretty good job of sanding that. So there we go. That's going to go in place. Just got to put some glue on there, and I'll put some clamps on there to hold it in place for a little bit, and we will come back and take a look. All right, guys, here it is. It's all together. The major sections of it anyway. So she's all solid and ready to finish up the wiring on it. So basically what I'm going to do here is I've got that Tena Controls flasher board, and that's going to go on the base. So pretty much really all I've got to do here is run 3 circuits. This is where my mounting rod is going to go. It's going to fit right in here after I open this up some. So I just need to run 3 circuits into here. And basically I'll just take a little bit of my wire wrapping wire here, and I'll cut 2 sections off of this. I'm not worried about being accurate, as long as I've got enough on there for it to run down the pole here. And I actually already have, I've got a piece of, I might want a little bit longer than that though. So I'm going to cut another piece off. So I've got my my 2 ground wires. Let's move this up a little bit. My 2 ground wires and 1 red wire. And I got 2 ground wires because remember that the flashing of those strobes is handled by the ground wire. So basically I got to run 1 ground wire to the board, to the control board. This stuff is so easy to strip the wire, the sheathing off it. And then I've got another wire that is going to be the negative for the steady on lights. So 2 separate circuits those will be on. And then all we need is the 1 power wire. Get that come out the front here. Looks like a whole lot of spaghetti right now. There it is. Come on. I need these. All right. So we've got 1 wire here. And 1 of our ground wires here. And the other ground wire is right here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here for a couple minutes, and I'm going to trim all this wiring down. There's a couple of these where I've got the resistor on the very end. I'm going to have to cut those down and resolder the resistor on there, and then I'll hook everything together. And all we'll have coming out the model are the 3 leads. So everything will be tied together. So give me a couple minutes. I'm going to work on that, and we'll come back and take a look at it and take a look at getting the deflector dish in place and getting a good look at it. And that should give us a pretty good idea how this is going to turn out. So give me a couple minutes. We'll be back. All right, guys. So she's all wired up, all closed up. And I was able to just press fit this navigation dish into place, so if I need to get back in there I can just pull it out and get to the wiring. So everything's hooked up. I've got this temporarily wired up here, so we can try plugging it in and see what we got. Let's take a look. Fingers crossed. All right, so far so good. We've got our strobe flashing here on the belly. Navigation dish is nice and lit. Lower sensor dome's got a nice light to it. And then all 3 of our marker lights are lit on the bottom here. And as far as light leaks, it looks pretty good. I got a little bit of the one I could see at the neck right here, right at this front edge. And another one right here. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but right at this joint right here, there's a little bit of a light leak I'm going to have to take care of. And let's take a look at this back section here. See just a little bit of light right here, and a little bit again on the top right here, and a little bit in the back here. So there are a couple spots where that tulip did make good contact and make a good seal, but there's a couple spots where I didn't put enough and didn't make a good enough seal right here on the back. And again, a little bit under the underside here, and a little bit on the top. So just very small amounts. Not going to be hard to light block that and fix that at all. I do have a pretty good gap though at the back, you can see here. I'm not sure why that is, because there's a little bit of a raised edge there. I'll have to see and make sure I didn't forget something there, but there's a pretty good gap right here. So I might have to fill that in, and still got to put the impulse piece in place here. But I'm not going to do that yet because I still got a little more work to do on this back section here where these windows are. I got to fill these in yet with the UV resin and black them out yet. So the ones I want to black out. So I got to work on that. Other than that, not seeing any other light leaks really. On this front dish, I got a little bit of a light leak. Let me see if I can just press this in. No, a little bit. I think I got to adjust that a little bit, but there's just a little bit of a light leak you can see right there. So gonna have to do something about that. I think I pressed this in. No, it might not be in all the way. So it might just be a matter of getting that pressed in better. But anyway, I'm going to have to work on that. I'm not trying to mess anything up right now. So I'll work on that. I do have a little bit of a light leak on that seam right here too. So gonna have to get that fixed, but I don't think this dish is all the way in yet. Once I get that in place all the way, it should be good to go. But right now there's a little bit of a light leak there, so I can fix that. Not a big deal. You see that deflector dish lighting up there, really nice. And there's a lower sensor dome too lighting up, and all the lights are working on top here. We've got our marker lights here around the saucer. And our strobes, we've got 3 flashing strobes on the top, and then that red light over top of the shuttle bay. And I did end up blocking out some of that LED strip in the back here. It's still a little bit brighter back here, but I don't really want to black out anymore. Let me turn this light out, and you can kind of see. You can see it's just a little bit dimmer up here than in the back. So I might have to see if I can even that out some way a little more, but doesn't look too bad. It's not far off. It's just a little noticeable though. But other than that, everything's lit up nice. So got a little bit of touch-up work to do on it, and got to do the decals. Still got to put a coat of another coat of clear coat on this. So a little work to do there. So I think that's going to be it for this episode though. When we come back, one more episode, we should be done. I'm going to work on the decals. We're going to talk about these. A little bit when we come back in the next episode. But other than that, there's a couple little pieces I got to add still. I've got to add these phaser banks on the bottom here. I've got to add the tractor beam on Tuesday right here. And like I said, just got decals, a couple little touch-up painting, some little bit of light blocking I got to do. And we come back next episode, we should be ready to wrap this up. So at any rate, I appreciate everybody for watching. All the new subscribers, thank you so much. I appreciate everybody that's been subscribing, and hopefully been watching these videos and getting something out of them. But I wanted to say thank you again to my sponsors, Cass over at Lake Monster Details, for these nice bussard parts and the grills here that are lighting up really nice and making this look really good. And also the decals, which we're finally going to get to look at next episode from Gus over at G-Cals. So we got those, and again, thank you everybody for watching. Appreciate all the feedback and support. And just to mention real quick, just as a quick give you advance notice on this, Fathom Events is putting Star Trek II Wrath of Khan out again in theaters come September. So check out the Fathom Events website if you're interested in that and see where it's going to be playing at. But just saw it earlier this month. I'll probably go see it again in September. So at any rate, just want to put that out there. But again, guys, thank everybody for watching and subscribing. If you don't want to subscribe, again, as always, please just hit that like button down there. Maybe leave a comment. Give me a little feedback and let me know what you think. So again, guys, thank you, everybody. Until next time, keep modeling.